Welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast, a show for accountants using technology to make their jobs more strategic and impactful. I'm Blake Oliver.
And I'm David Leary.
So, David, I was watching the Today Show today because I'm working at home. So I was sitting on the couch with my iPad, catching up on the news, getting ready for our podcast. And what comes on but a story on the Today Show entitled, "What is Cloud Computing?" Actually,
no way.
I misspoke. It was, "What is the cloud?" in quotes. And one of their reporters took a tour of a Microsoft facility in an undisclosed location, I think in Virginia somewhere. And the Today Show audience learned where their data is in the cloud.
Amazing. It's like in a physical place in a building somewhere.
And I just had to share that with you because it's so funny, coming probably 10 years after it should have. But, to be fair, it's taken a while for the cloud to gain mass market appeal or knowledge. And the quote that I loved the best came from Savannah Guthrie at the end of the segment. She said, so the cloud is basically a big file cabinet that's not actually in the cloud.
Amazing. So what we could do is that we have a distribution strategy here, right? So I think, when we put this up online, we'll tag the Today Show, and then they could have their follow-up. They could be like, hey, remember we talked about the cloud? Guess what? We got two guys there to talk about it even more, and they could bring us on.
That'd be great. I'm looking forward to that. You have to get up really early to be on the Today Show, though.
East Coast, I get up early. I'm a morning guy now. Yeah.
We'll do it if they ask us. Hey, actually, you have a story that you sent to me that is about the cloud and Intuit. What's that?
Yeah, I'll read the headline because this is in a UK tech journal, but I'll read the headline because it's the verbiage is very interesting. It says, "Accounting software biz Intuit flogging Bitbarn to throw its lot in with AWS." So it's a little confusing from the title.
And the first sentence is my favorite. It says, "Financial software flinger Intuit is binning its biggest data center and plonking its corporate backends onto AWS in another win for the public cloud's biggest player." Definitely a frustrated literature English major working at that site. But David, what is the news here?
I mean, essentially the news is Intuit years ago, when things first started moving to the cloud and big data started coming on, we built data centers. And so we had a huge data center we built in Quincy, Washington. And as times moved on, it started out very small. Like we would, I think years ago, we started putting just TurboTax help up on the Amazon servers. And because you could spin up, like one night you need 45 servers, the next day you need one, right? And you couldn't really do that in your own data center very well or to cost effectively, but you could with Amazon Stack. So over time, more and more stuff has kept moving to Amazon's web servers, right? To the Amazon cloud. And even QuickBooks Online now is all on Amazon web servers, right? I think even Xero is on Amazon web servers. And so us having our own data center doesn't make a lot of sense. And so we've Intuit sold the data center.
Wow, that's big news, but not unexpected.
Not really unexpected. And it's interesting because we talk about all this time about like desktop versus cloud. And, if companies like Intuit aren't running their own data servers, does it make sense for somebody to have a server in the back room of their office anymore?
No, absolutely not.
And so I think that's kind of like the direction things are headed. And the other thing that just reminded me of a story I had early on in our platform. We started building apps.com, right? And we were going to build an app marketplace in a platform. We were going to host the apps. So early on, and this is when I used to have an app on the platform, View My Paycheck, we hosted all the apps. And,
oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And we decided we're not going to do this. We are not going to do this. And so I remember one of the engineers explaining the why behind the decision when we decided that this wasn't a good idea. And he said, the simple way to think about it is we had 3 engineers working on something that Amazon had 2,000. And it was kind of like, okay, they're obviously going to build this way better and faster than we ever could. And so it's really specializing your skills, right? They're really good at that. We're really good at small business.
Yep. So Intuit is going to take a charge for selling its data center, or actually rather transferring all the data to AWS is going to cost between 75 million and 85 million. It's a huge undertaking, so probably will take, I would guess, at least a year to make that full switch happen. Or maybe Intuit will do it faster than Xero. But hey, speaking of impairment charges or switching costs or binning ideas, there's some news out of Xero. Big news that broke recently that Xero is ditching its US payroll product, and they are partnering with Gusto, which will now provide the deeply integrated payroll solution that Xero had previously developed in-house. A lot of talk about this on the boards for Xero users, accountants using Xero. Is it a good move? I'm going to say my personal feeling is, as a Xero user, I'm a bit disappointed that they didn't follow through on building out payroll, but I can understand why they would give it up when payroll is so darn complicated in the United States. I don't think that the folks in New Zealand or Australia had any idea just how difficult it is to build payroll in the US. So probably long-term, a good move. I think they're going to take an impairment charge of, looks like 16.2 million in the first half of the March 2019 fiscal year to do it. I love Gusto, so I'm happy about that. Only problem is that the big question is, how much is this going to cost? Because that hasn't been released yet. And one of the great things about Xero's built-in payroll product was that it was free on their standard plan for up to 5 employees. So if you're a small shop and you're just paying yourself and a couple of employees, you could actually use their payroll for no extra charge. Now, it was self-service, was not full service like Gusto, but that was a nice little feature. I do think it is better to have full service in the end, but it is going to be another monthly payment. So
with your knowledge of Gusto, did Gusto, I'm not sorry, Gusto, my bad, with Xero's payroll, did Xero's payroll ever do all 50 states?
They never quite got there. The problem, of course, being that some states still don't even allow you to file electronically, I think.
Got it. So and I get that. And Gusto, I think, went through that when they just went for the big states first, and then you eventually catch all the states. Kind of two interesting thoughts on this. Like, one, it's kind of not surprising at some level. It's a similar strategy, Intuit uses with QuickBooks in Canada. We partner, and WagePoint's the payroll provider there. In Australia, KeyPay. Like, as you build take an accounting system global, even though the accounting's kind of the same everywhere, right? And even the sales tax, and use tax models are kind of very similar everywhere. Payroll is not. And so, like, for a company like Intuit or Xero or anybody to build a one payroll that works in every single country around the globe is really, really difficult. And so this could be an indicator of lots of announcements like this going forward. I think.
Yeah. And I would say this is also really good for the concept of the cloud accounting ecosystem. It proves that it's really, really hard to build all-in-one products, and it's very expensive to do so. And that a better approach in the small business segment is to partner with other developers to integrate your products so that you can both focus on what you're really good at. And Xero is not good at payroll. They are good at accounting. Gusto is really good at payroll and benefits. Work together, deeply integrate your products so that it's a seamless user experience. I hope that's what comes out of this.
Yeah, and hopefully everything stays an open marketplace, because the way the small businesses win, because if they want to use Gusto, great. If they want, I think 2 months ago, Xero was all happy about how Paychex. I think we talked about Paychex integrating with Xero, right? And then it's QuickBooks, ADP integrates, Paychex integrates, Gusto integrates. Intuit has their own payroll. Like, it's good for the small business owner. Patriot payrolls out there, like, to pick the payroll product that's the right fit for them.
I mean, ideally, all of those products would be deeply integrated, or it would be an open path to do that, right? So I could choose whichever payroll system I want, and it would work just as well. That is the dream.
I think I saw a tweet the other day that it was like, there's one of the an ADP location, and 50 ADP employees were all wearing T-shirt shirts, right? So it's I think we all are we've changed. Everybody's moved on from that closed mindset of like my way or the highway. And okay, you can be an ADP customer, but you can also be a good T-Sheets customer and maybe a good QuickBooks customer. I think everybody's a little bit more mature now in the marketplace when it comes to ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I think this is going to be a short episode today, but we do have one more piece of news. What's that?
Certify, who, if you guys remember, maybe 19 months ago, they merged with Nixonia. And then a couple months after that, it was Expense Wash and Tally, and kind of took 4 expense apps and they're merged together as one big company. Well, now they've just announced they're acquiring Abacus, which is now a 5th expense app. And so they basically built an umbrella or a suite of 5 apps to go from huge enterprise all the way down to teeny small business sole tracking of expense reports and all the people and slices in between.
Yeah, this is really interesting because I didn't know what to make of it when the first few acquisitions happened. Now there's 5 of them. And as a marketing guy, since this year I've been a marketing guy, I can't imagine having to do marketing for 5 separate brands. It's hard enough with one. So is this a good move? Is the ultimate plan to consolidate the user bases onto 1 or 2 applications? I feel like that has to be the end game, because how can you scale running 5 separate expense applications? I mean, maybe the idea is just to see which one does the best, right? And then
pre-merger, I've been to an accounting conference and seen all 5 of these with their own 5 separate booths, right? So if they have a separate brand and they go forward with separate booths, like it's just going to cause market fatigue, like for somebody shopping.
Yeah.
Even, right? Like, well, I don't know which one I should use. And it's not obvious, like, oh, Coke is very distinct and Sprite is very distinct and Snapple is very distinct, right? But like all these products are very, very similar, and like how they communicate that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, with soft drinks, right, there's like 2 soft drink companies that like make 90% of the soft drinks out there. But it's easier to do separate branding, I think, for soft drinks. I mean, with especially with software, you've got a whole backend that you've got to maintain that are separate systems and all that stuff. It's not just like a recipe. So curious to see how this all works out.
Yeah. I think that's it. A short one today. If anybody wants to send us some articles for next week or just say, hey, you 2 are great, how's the best way for them to reach out to you?
They should tweet at me. I'm at Blake T. Oliver.
And Twitter works for me. I'm at David Leary. And
thanks for listening.
I think keep your eyes open. I think we have some bonus episodes coming out here soon.
Yep, we've got Ed Kless coming up real soon. That'll be a fun interview.
Awesome. Perfect. Later, Blake.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.